Hi, and welcome to TPKCon. My name is Helen Savor, also known as I'm a Paper Ninja, and I want to talk to you today about how to take what you've written and get it published on Pathfinder Infinite. Similar things for DriveThru RPG, but I'm focusing on Infinite because that's a large part of the community. Really, there are three key things we're going to focus on: editing your work, doing layout, I use Affinity for that, and uploading it into the one bookshelf ecosystem through the community content program. So buckle up, let's go along. Okay, let's talk about editing as well. We've all been readers, we produce TTRPG products, so we kind of know how the flow is, but whenever you're writing, you're gonna find your fingers are gonna type things you don't expect, and then when you're putting something together, there's certain niceties you're not necessarily thinking about. So when writing for game products, also, there is a bit of a different grammar than writing for fiction. I know this is about gaming, but I do come from a background of fiction writing. I've done several novels, and they don't always match up, which makes sense. It's a different source of information. So, what I do is I actually pop open this software, ProwritingAid. There are other things like it, Grammarly, and you can do this you can do your own self-editing in, Word or Google Docs, wherever you're using. This is something that helps me, and I was able to get it for not a lot many years ago because of National Novel Writing Month. I got a coupon. A few things that I try to focus on, which is different for TTRPG, is the spelling because proper nouns are going to be very different. Going through spell check first thing, as you'll see lots of proper nouns in there. So I nix all that off, but you do sometimes still find those spelling errors. I think lead up here was an issue. There's a few other great checks here, like spelling consistency between US and UK. In the gaming world, you sometimes got a few things that are more the UK spelling, and I prefer great as well too. I drive my editors crazy with that. Capitalization consistency, because that will highlight issues in how you've written together rules versus prose. For instance, we're taking a look at, let's see, lumber, Isle of Kortos, that's proper, or at any point are we referring to an island in general. We've moved on to orc. Oh, orc license. We'll talk a little bit in other panels about why the open RPG creative license is so important. Council is interesting, governing bodies. It's proper when you're talking about the body, but it could be I'm just running a council. I may have scrolled off screen somehow, but here I'm doing some double checking on lore. Why is it capital or not? And the best thing to do is actually pop open a book that's very similar to what you're doing. We're working on a intro guide, so that is what I pulled up here. And you just search, and you're going to find consistency, lore versus lore. It's lore when you're talking about a skill capitalized, and it's lowercase when we're talking about the lore of something. But you'll see a lot of that. Capitalization needs to be used in a very careful way. In English language, as we type, want to use capitalization more than we should, need to reserve it for those specific moments, or you know what, it just isn't as useful. At this point, we've taken care of all kind of the side helper things out, but we're going to actually go through the pros now. There's still stuff highlighted. It's easier to check this out. Now, as a careful thing is that, it's going to recommend readability to make things simpler, but you need to be careful about was there specificity around those things. A lot of modifiers are used to clarify a situation or a rule. So you got to check on all those time. For instance, coming up, is this person experienced and wise? Well, experience and wisdom mean very different things in an RPG. Then I'm just kind of trying to say that this is a very special person in prose. Is known to me is interesting because it's going to recommend meats as just something a little bit more clear, but it's indefinite, and this is the thing that comes up a lot. We're not saying that they're definitely meat there. It's just it's known. It's something that people understand, or at least it's a rumor. It might not actually be true, especially until the gamers are playing. This is another interesting construction. Are particularly suitable, talking about backgrounds. And you're like, well, of course it's suitable. This is what we're making for the thing. But, is that too much? Are we saying too much? Are we using our words wise? But we go back to the source material and we do look, and there is similar language there. So why not just adopt that? There's a lot of just referencing what's come before. And especially for these like framing things, the more that there are similar phrases, the easier it is to pick up on the rules. It's part of the modularity that I love of Pathfinder 2e. As you can see, we're pretty much wrapped up here, just taking a few extraneous character turns. So this thing is as clean as possible for us to drop it in what we will be using to format, compile, format, and produce. We're making a PDF using Affinity Publisher. But before we get to that, we need to talk a little bit about art. This is an especially timely topic because new guidelines are out and even further are rumored to come down about the use of AI art in TTRPG products. One Bookshelf, the host for DriveThru RPG and several other sites, including Pathfinder Infinite, has put out guidelines that there must be tagging around the use of AI-generated art, as demonstrated here. You can find this in the FAQs for One Bookshelf. However, each individual may also do further guidelines, and it is rumored that Paizo, and thus Pathfinder Infinite, will be putting some rather strict guidelines around the use or non-use of AI art. Agree or disagree, we're going to follow the guidelines of whatever it is so we can continue to publish our favorite works in our favorite spaces. So let's talk about where do we find art in general. Here we go right in the Pathfinder Infinite FAQ. It is discussed. And there is some that's released directly in Infinite itself. I'll show you that link. And what's important to realize here and why it's really cool to publish in Infinite is that you can use images released under the community use package in a commercial product. So we're going to show you how to find that stuff. There is a lot. Basically, if it has been in a Paizo blog post, those images are, I won't say free game, there are some limitations as said here. Character sheets, logos, photographs, definitely don't touch that. So that's a wealth of things. But if you want to go further out, stock art, you can buy stock art in various places, and you can find free stock art. Or you can commission it. There's a lot of great artists out there who are just other creators trying to have fun and get the job done. What I've been starting to do with some of my products is revenue share with other artists, so I don't necessarily need the funds up front, but if you have that, support your favorite artist friends. There's so many good stuff. So let's take a look. On Pathfinder Infinite, if we come over to Resources for Infinite Creators, we'll see a whole bevy of things. Actually, let's highlight not just the art. This is where you can find a lot of the templates that people have put together. I haven't put my style up there. Frankly, I think there's some better starting templates. So these are, well, some of the paid ones, but there are some freebie ones as well. But look at this art that people have provided that you can get access to. Some of these are just $1, $2, a whole pack for $10. So many great stuff in here. And all you got to do is hit Resources for Infinite Creators. And to show that there are some things that are on the cheaper side for people whose production budget is 0 right now. We have these packs that were provided to start, kind of some basic stuff. And people, if we scroll up, have been adding to some of these templates. So these are this is the Infinity template that I started with. And like I said, we're still seeing a lot of art. We've got the Starfinder resource here, some terrain packs. So if you're just getting started, there is stuff available here, art and otherwise. But like I said, community use images can be used by Infinite creators for Infinite products in the Infinite ecosystem. So take a look, get to the Pathfinder wiki, and you will find those images. Like we said, no headshots. Sorry, Jason Bowman. No covers, so sorry for these covers and logos. But there are so many characters and even items. Look at that nice avatar key over there. Got some glyphs, Absalom symbol, lots of stuff going on there. And there are several pages. So one thing I recommend to creatives, if you got 5 minutes, if you got your phone when you're sitting in the bathroom or somewhere, just browse stock art sites. Look for something that you think might help. Now, this is a great way to find it, but you could also go and say, hey, I am looking for orcs, because we just did and are working on an orc supplement. Oh, wow, this one's super convenient. I could just link to groups of orcs. Now, let's see. But you want to make sure that it does fall under the community use policy. So, okay, I like this Orc Scout. Let's take a look at them. And let's see what's going on. Okay, copyrighted image. It's part of the community use policy, unmodified use. And you can even see when it was used in the Paizo blog if you're feeling a little bit nervous that this was out there. So this is a great source for images. I come here a lot. Okay, where are other free sources for images? General stock sites. Pixabay that you will see integrated with some products. It's an Affinity. I believe Adobe uses them. But you can come and grab it yourself. So it might not be the exact thing. Okay, so this is kind of bland for what we're doing. So let's look for a witch. Oh, some of those are a little extra special. Now we're taking a look. These might be a little too realistic. Actually, I'm kind of liking this one down here. So some things you could do is illustration. I find searching on that really helps. It gets me a little closer to kind of what we're trying to do for RPG space. And if you want to get something, a little bit more upscale, it is going to lead you towards their associated paid site. This is iStock for the sponsor for Pixabay. While we're still on Pixabay, another great source, because we saw me working on those backgrounds and image templates before. Okay, maybe Witch is not great for this. Let's say Forest. So we can get, the vector graphics are going to give you a little bit more cartoony, illustrated from not a detailed way. So these might be some good insets, like I was using this for backgrounds and such. And you might find, let's look for maybe a wand. I love wands. Oh, so there's also Pexels. It really is more photo-driven. So I don't usually find as much useful stuff for this space, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention another free site. Okay. And then we look for the more paid sites. iStock Photo is associated with Pixabay, so you're going to see things there. I'm going to show you my... Okay, sorry. Roy Deposit Photos is another one. These all have, similar things. If I'm going to look for a... we should search for a warlock. If I'm going to search for a witch here, we're going to get much more richer response than we were getting on the other site. So we're looking for some fun stuff. But I'm going to take a look over at Shutterstock, which has been my favorite so far. They give out coupons, I swear, every once in a while. So you just buy a few things and you'll find something. And look at this great art I found on this site. Now, yeah, these things do cost. So let's take a look at least this example. You want to just get some quick things. I know it costs a little bit here. But you could just go for, I just want to pay for a month and get, 10 images. It'll work on my product. There's $50. What I'll usually do is use these for the cover images, the higher quality things. Oh, wait, that says AI generated images? Okay, I took a look off screen and you can select whether you're doing AI versus other images so you can still stick within the rules. But if we have some concerns that Shutterstock's doing AI images, let's take a look at deposit photos options instead. Okay. So here's some subscription costs. Always make sure to bug out of these subscriptions before it's too long. So you can see cost per image and how much you can get. And what I'd really focus on is these richer images for your covers, and using kind of more of the free stock for your internal things. You can also get on demand and see what these things are here. Especially one thing you can do as you produce and do more, you can invest some of your stuff back in your art. So another place, if you want to get, this is RPG art. You can go over to DriveThru RPG in their publisher resources, and this is where you're going to, okay, of course, it's a very mappy day today, but you can find some great figures here for not that much. Ooh, this is a pay what you want set. Hold on a sec. I could use some roguey rogues. Okay. See, there. You might be able to find some great stuff. It just takes some browsing. So, art is a hot button topic right now. but it is part of what we're working on. Art can be a differentiator, but don't let it stop what you're doing. There's a lot of resources to find great art to offset your products. Free, maybe paid as you get a little bit more further in. So let's roll into what might be the second most intimidating thing about publishing products on Infinite. The first being the legalities and the OGL and the orc eventually in section 15. I'm going to go over that more at the end. But the second is actually putting together your product. So what I do have a template that I've started with. I actually picked up, well, I started with trying to convert a word base, and then I saw someone had kindly already done one on the Pathfinder Infinite site, and later in the video I'm going to show you how to find that. Over time, I have refined what I'm working on. It really helps if every time you work on a product, you pick one more thing to improve. And that's not about gaming or RPG writing. That's just kind of something in general. If you try to do it all at once, it's going to be a lot. And this is, oh gosh, how many products have I done now? Some of them are freebies though, so they don't all count. So it's been a while working on stuff. What you see here is I'm trying to get a border in place. Not everything needs a border, but when you pick up those Paizo books and you're like, oh, look at this artwork, the border is maybe the second piece of artwork that's going to stand out. Cover, of course, first, because you've been staring at that forever saying, when are you going to release or get my digital copy or hit my friendly local game store? So I do try to spend some time getting the border in place. I also, you got to be careful to make sure that the background, the text on, is, not too disruptive. If you ever have any questions about that, actually, we had a great discussion in the Infinite Discord. I think we have pinned we can go back to. But a little bit of texture actually looks good. You can see I'm putting some border, and yep, there's a little bit underneath to just give it a touch of something. But it's still really got to be readable. Personally, the D&D 5e handbook, I just can't read it. There's not enough difference between the text and the background. So another thing when you're using an editor like Affinity is you're going to have these master pages, but you have multiple you can work with. So you don't have to necessarily go in and customize everything. You just know what some of the things are. So once I get my base, I like to go in and get a few standards, like section headings. That division you can see there is kind of pretty popular to kick off things. So that'll be helpful. And this is where I always will inevitably mess something else up. I have flipped text backwards before, page numbers go away. It's pretty fun. So another thing I include in my master templates is the collections of spells, feats, descriptions, so that I have it actually pre-formatted and I can just kind of drop and paste those in. We're going to see it. There we go. It's going to flash so fast here. We'll see it again when we start doing more of the editing live. So now what I've actually done is I've started looking at similar guides as I put the text in. And this is where I realized where I flipped things or done something else and done something wrong. I am primarily going with the Pathfinder trade dress that they've provided in the templates for Pathfinder Infinite products. But the nice thing about using these styles, which I'm copying and pasting around, is I can actually make those edits later. You can see very quickly making some changes to what these things look like. And that's really cool. So I have a mixture of narrative text and here the stat block text. I'm trying to put together some backgrounds. This was simple enough that I didn't need to go back and kind of copy and paste from my standards, but I can just use this really helpful text style bar to kind of really get everything in the way I want it. So here you can see the flow controls as we go between pages. You've got that line that's saying, I want you to flow from here to there. That means as I mess around with things, then I don't have to necessarily copy and paste between the pages again. The text will flow around. As I start working on images, that's going to be pretty important. So here I'm flipping over to a similar thing, the Abomination Vaults Player's Guide, to see how I might want to put things in. So I'm working on Town Gazetteer. And so I'd actually picked out this graphic earlier of something that I think might be neat. It's not quite what I want yet, though. So this is where I've been playing with this a lot. I'm going to flip into the graphics form of the program. Affinity has a graphics form you can go back and forth and just do a little editing. I don't want those little tassels in there. I want to be able to put text on top of it. So a little here, a little there. And you notice, okay, so I'll point this out while we're looking at this. There's a lot of red squigglies in the background. I've already done my editing. You saw that before, so I'm not paying attention to spelling errors here, which actually might not be wise. because I might introduce a new one. What I really should do at the end of this is go back and use pre-flight to go spell check. But for time purposes, you'll see I don't actually do that. So here's hoping I got it right. Okay, I'm getting this back into the text, and then I'm remembering, oh yeah, I don't actually have a pure white background because, again, we gave it a little bit of texture. But what we're going to do is we're going to start taking that away so it blends in better. But what we're seeing is we have text behind it. We don't want that text behind it. We need to be able to not interfere with the text. So we're going to see some examples. Oh, I guess we're going to do that part later. For first we're setting this up. And this is, again, I don't have a permanent like settlement block, but I am borrowing some elements from that stat page to kind of set up how I do the standards here. I have a little table for traits, which has been very helpful. And again, we're going through and editing our styles. And then this is where you fuss, you fiddle. Is this the right size? How much can I get in there? Do I feel good about this? There's a lot of that, it feels like, in what we're doing. So I believe in a moment, we're going to switch over to where does this whole block actually fit. Oh yeah, and that's, sometimes you pick elegancy and sometimes you're like, I just need to put a simple line there. Don't let good enough be the enemy of great. I've reversed that. So okay, now we're getting the text wrap like I was saying. So some products have tighter or looser wrap. You got to at least make sure there isn't text behind it. I'll mess around with it a lot because I'm too picky. I personally also don't like to have a lot of things split between pages, so you're going to see I'm like really looking around about where can I put this to maximize my page space. I always forget how much you actually see on a page. You're like, that's a lot of words until you go back and look at the real products. I'm sorry, maybe the Paizo products. Everything's real. Our third party is real as well. And you're like, yeah, they do fit a lot, but I guess you're just so excited to read it, you almost don't realize how much is there. And you see, doing again some resizing here. If I'd done those bars personally before, it would have come back better. And let's see. Now it's time for, oh yeah, let's put that map in there. So there's a whole other section we're putting together, and we're going to flip back and forth again. So this is a neat trick. You can pull in a picture from something else, just shrink it down so it's transparent so you can kind of see where you do layout. Now in this case, this wasn't that complicated. I decided to not do a special pull-out graphic for this, but what I am doing is I am editing that section instead of, so I've got the basic template, but I am messing around with it a little bit. But because I had the section header templates, it was a lot easier to just shift the text around. Okay, now everything's got to reflow again. Now that I'm putting that together, where do I want this to go? So there's a lot of fussing about that right now. While we're doing that, something to think about is your text styles. I'm showing how you can do it, but what do you want yours to be? We're working on a similar to Paizo trade dress, but you don't have to be there. I also like similar but distinct in a lot of cases. It still has to be familiar. Your stat blocks are probably going to want to still be similar enough, but it can be, unique in your own. Okay, this is a section we're actually going to go on to a little bit more later now, where we're working on our OGL, our section 17. I'm sorry, our section 15. I'll go do it slower later. Don't worry, because I'm doing our finishing things. We've put this together. We're making sure our back matters correctly, which also is going to include credits. Now, I'm hesitating here a while because I'm really trying to be extra careful on the art, but I ended up doing my art description earlier, so we don't have to look at me fussing about getting the art credits right. Cover time. Covers are tough. For Infinite, you want to make sure you have that proper logo out there. We saw that. But then picking what you're going to put up. And again, we talked about art. So this is all stock that I found, and I put it together to get ready for this project. Most of it's stock. I do have a few art pieces from some artists I've worked with. We did end up not putting this guy in. We took him out to save him for something else. But Micah Draws does some great art, and Connor also did some of the art that you're going to see in the full product that this is previewing. So I guess I think I was putting this back in so I can get back to the cover. You got to make sure. Well, I like making sure the authors are on there, but that's not. It isn't actually you have to. You need that logo there, that Pathfinder Infinite logo. And if you're doing something on, say, DriveThru, you're going to want that compatibility logo too. Okay, so this is where I'm actually pulling stock live out of the product. So Affinity has Pixabay and Pexels built right in. And this is where it's a little bit just mess around with. I want to pull a few things. I want to get a theme going here, but I don't want it to be just plain white. Maybe that's me. I think this actually would have looked fine just like that. So then it's fussing. It's kind of the best and the worst part because it's not the hard brain that's doing the math of things, and it's not 100% creative because you're working with building blocks instead of having to go and full create something new. But it does mean that we can just do a little fussing and see what might work with experimentation, and that feels pretty cool. And again, we talked about some of the art stuff earlier, which is what I was hesitating on about here. So I think we're rolling on to fun with fonts are coming up. So this template was put together in advance, but when we're looking at that cover, that's your chance where you're going to say, oh, is that what I really want? And one thing to be careful about when working on fonts is the fonts on your computer aren't necessarily ones that you can commercially use. Obviously, all of them have a personal license, but there's many fonts on the computer that's just there, it's stuck there, it's being annoying. We want to make sure we honor commercial release information. We're honoring all the other guidelines and licensing. Let's do this too. But the good news is there are a lot of places you can find free fonts. Sometimes there are deals to get a good guide. So, and you can just flip over to Google and double check, is this have a commercial license? And I think I'm going to flip over some good font sites here to check. 1000 fonts, DI fonts are also great places to kind of take a look for things. Okay, I think here I was just double checking some of the notes on the back matter as we're going back and forth. To recap, all of our text is in. It is readable, it is recognizable, it is in a package with pleasing art. We have a cover at the front, and now it's time to start going back to the back. Once we've put it all together, how do we make this into a PDF? One bookshelf does have a few guidelines, and we are going to follow those for our export. I am ignoring pre-flight for time, but it's spelling, overlays, stuff like that. So actually, let's go over to section 15, or your OGL statement, which is what sparked all of this. I am not going to touch on the OGL issues because there are entire videos on that. But at least right now, Pathfinder Infinite is licensed under the Open Game License. You're going to see the Wizards references here. Basically, you're going to just pull in all the way through section 14 the standard verbiage. Again, I'm not going to go over what the OGL means. But this is when we get to 15 is when it gets interesting. So everybody's like, get your section 15 right. So, using Paizo Products itself, it references the OGL, the system's reference document. And if you're doing any Pathfinder work, you're most likely going to hit the core rulebook. What you have to do next is you have to go and find everything else this reference. This is only a simple player's guide, so the only thing that it references is Runes of Gauntlet. But what I'm actually referencing is the adventure. I scrolled all the way to the back. No spoilers. Okay, there's a map real fast. Okay, here we go again. All the way down here, so this is their section 15. So we have to generally copy all that. But you know what? Okay, this is what I'll say. I'm referencing names of a few places, not referencing the Soul Eaters. So, I pick up all this, and then this is the name of the actual title. Okay, so that's what is brought back over here. I'm going to flip back to Affinity and see that's exactly what we brought over. But what we also need to do is put in this product's title. New Orcs on the Block Player's Guide. I think the block's actually capitalized. I should fix that. Authors Brian and Helen, that's us. If we were a company, we might put company information as well. And we need to do the reference up above because this is this is actually the Pathfinder compatibility license info, and I need to make sure this is correct up at the section 16 as well. Section 15, excuse me. And it's going to be the same info. So this makes sure we takes care of our section 15. And then, like we said, we also have the Pathfinder compatibility license information. And that's what this is. So if for some reason, which is very, very unlikely, You are doing a guide that actually doesn't reference OGL content, but references Paizo content. You're going to come in and doing it here. And we're getting ready for export. So take a look at this, and I'll show you where you can get to this actually in Infinite. When we're going to go into Infinite and do some uploads here, and you're going to find the content guidelines, and it's going to go over, well, what you can include, but also down here, it's going to give you advice for how to put your material together. So there's a lot of great guides here. I just wanted to do my take on this for the conference. And it also gives you some great starting points for files. Affinity is not here. I will show you how to find a starting Affinity template. But these quick checklist is great to take a look at. Make sure we get everything covered. Yep, all images RGB, 150. Okay, cover files placed and numbered correctly. Let's go back and check that. File spaces. Oh, we haven't even named it, so there we go. See, it's good to double check things because you will find things well to double check. For instance, when recording, remembering to show the dialog box where you separate out the cover from the other sections to get the numbering correctly. So that's good. I can go over this stuff. But see, I had increased my DPI, and now you can tell there's a transparency here. If you have things go with transparency, it is going to look weird on several different readers. So make sure that there are no transparencies left. And it's very easy to go in, take a look, and I'm just going to put that white box all the way back there in the back. We set our DPI to 150. We want to make sure this is all pages and not all spreads. You could choose to only export some of it. It's good to know. I've used this to kind of control some other PDFs. Make sure, again, everything's above 150. And turn off JPEG compression. And we're in the RGB space. Okay. I do have hyperlinks, so I'm going to include those. I didn't do any bookmarks in here, so maybe another lesson for another time. You can link things around as a table of contents, and including layers so we can select on things. Okay, nice background there. And let's work on that export. Our lovely new player's guide. Here it is, folks. I think that's super big, and then I'm going to shrink it, so let's see how well that works. Okay. And it's out. Again, pop-ups are not working too well here. Let's see if I can grab that. Previewer status information. Okay, when you do the preview, I will take a look at general info, and I'm actually double checking that I've got my title and my author info correctly. We'll float back to the document and we'll look at that. But I'm looking at single page right now. We see that border coming back and forth. I can copy things out. I made sure we didn't flatten that text. Okay, this looks kind of weird going back and forth though. So this should work. I want to see 2 pages. And so, okay, we go back to the spread way of doing this. And then the cover is still here as something separate. Okay. There we go. And that's the player's handout that we were working on earlier. And don't forget to work on your credits of your folks. It's not just about your section 15. It's crediting everything and everyone that went into this. Just good to do. I'm gonna flip back because I realized that we didn't necessarily go over some of the data stuff. And over here is where we're going to find just the information about the PDF. Get your authors right and title right. I will continuously forget to put this in, and it'll say Affinity Publisher Backup. And I'm calling this 1 2 because I got the new player's guide out there. Tells us number of pages. I've saved it 40 times. Save early, save often. Don't be afraid. Yeah. I don't really mess with these. Everything's all taken care of. But this is here. It's a small thing, but people will see the embedded PDF title. So I'm going to save and we're going to export this again. Let's not forget we need a cover too. Okay, like I said, we're going to make sure we are on current page because that's the cover, and we want to size this down to no more than 1,000 width. And this is where we're going to start playing with stuff because we cannot go over 400 kilobytes as the guidelines from one bookshelf. So we mess with quality or we mess with size. We're about 1.3 right now, and I found 90% is about fine. So that's the cover. Okay, and now that we got our PDF document all ready to go, it's time to actually put this into our Pathfinder Infinite ecosystem. If I'm focusing on Pathfinder Infinite, if you're doing DriveThru for Pathfinder compatible products, that layout's a little different. I might come back to that if we have time, but let's just say similar at least. So let's flow over here, and I want to enter a new community title. So these are community things. Pathfinder Infinite is licensed through Paizo for us to be able to use those products. So we are not the actual direct publisher. I'm using Pathfinder Infinite here. Infinite Masters is a program. Using Pathfinder Infinite here. Let's see, what did we call this again? It was the New Orcs on the Block Player's Guide. And this is actually not just by me. W. Brian Lane was the main author. And let's double check. Oh, I've used Sheppy several times, which is why he is automatically there. Sheppy's great. Go check out his artwork everywhere. A lot of battles do, and I'm using him for the cover for Vellum and Lace, of course. So, I spent all that time to get the artist right down. There's several different things. Let's grab, and I'm flipping here. Let's take a look at our PDF and get at least our specific artist here. You don't have to put everything. Like for using stock art, I'm not going to put that. Like a primary artist, but I want to give Connor some credit here for some of the art he provided. He is a creator in this ecosystem. So I think that'll be great. Let's remember how many pages. So here is a bit of a guideline. People differ on this. I like to use the number of pages of content because there's a lot of ways you can get back matter for different things. In addition to the OGL, you might be showing off other products or you might have extended credits. So I'm looking at the fact that we have about 6 pages of product. It's more like 5.5, but we're going to put down 6 here. Now, this is interesting because this is something I mean to be as a player's guide. Player's guides are generally available for free. I'm making it pay as you want. But say something, don't just make things for free, because give people the option to give you something for it. I am going to, the smallest you can do, because I've tried to do this before, I'll try to say 20 cents, and it'll remind me it needs to be at least 50 cents a list free. For products to get medal rankings, that means you've sold a certain amount. You need to at least it needs to at least get 20 cents. So something like pay what you want, if somebody gives you at least 20 cents, it counts towards that. So I can't write down the minimum, but that'll qualify. So I'm going to at least put the minimum there as something to think about. Now, remember before we were talking about our sizes. Oh, when did they change to 900? So ignore everything I said about 1,000. And let's see if the 1,000 goes through, because I already did. And then we'll focus on doing this right next time. I don't think you see my upload windows the way OBS is set up right now. So when you see gray, that means I'm navigating somewhere else. I am sorry for that. So my products, my gaming products, and my work products. Let's upload that lovely cover we were talking about earlier. You see it's there. Only the images that you're putting into it you are going to see here. So I'm going to come back and do the description last. Let's check off some important stuff. This is a Pathfinder title. It is not aligned to Absalom City of Lost Omens works. There will be more storylines in the future. For instance, if there becomes a General Isle of Kortos, this actually does qualify for it. So here's the interesting thing. It actually is kind of adventurous. It's more of a player's guide for it, though. So, you know what? I'm going to at least check off low level. So if people are looking for something, they'll see it's there. And this is definitely a player's guide. It's not really class fee or spell skill options. GM's guides, that might come in later. So you're going to pick what's right here. It's accessories. Now I'm just going to double check some of these things. Gear, magic, and resources. Okay, we're going to come back to resources for Infinite creators a little later. I wanted to wait until we were in this view to go over some of that stuff. This is where I would go if I was doing fiction stuff. This is not. This is second edition, and we are providing in PDF. You can do other formats, like for my fiction, I do EPUBs and Mobies. Mobies are kind of being cycled out, so let's not care about those. You can do what's called a phone PDF, where it's formatted to kind of be better for a phone screen instead of having to pinch in or out. And I am sorry we are not taking the time on this, but in the future we might work on that more. Virtual tabletops, if you're doing things like integrations with Roll20 or Foundry. This is English. If I have clicked too many things, that will be the first thing I don't do, because I believe there is a limit. I think it's 10. When I get a little spicy with uploading stuff, I sometimes hit a lot of stuff. Okay. These, I'm gonna unselect them, because until the thing gets loaded, it's not gonna do a lot of stuff. Okay. So I've run out of stuff I can do pretty much. No VTT. Like I said, we got some Roll20 stuff. This is the community agreement. Read through this on your own at some point. I'm not going to go through this here, but this does explain your publishing rights, how royalties are structured. Actually, that is a good point. On Pathfinder Infinite, you will receive a 50% royalty. The rest of it, a portion of it goes to One Bookshelf, DriveThru RPG, and a portion of it goes to Paizo. You can split that up as many ways as you want, but it will not go over 50%. If we were to upload this to DriveThru RPG, because there is not a Paizo involved as well, that percentage might be 65 or 70, depending if you are going to be just within that ecosystem. So that's worth mentioning, but please do read through this before you go so you fully understand what's going on. And I agree, I've done this a bunch of times. I certify that I have the rights to use all the art included in the title. Make sure you own your art. We went through this earlier, that you can get art from working with other artists in the community. You could do a royalty share, which we are doing for the main artwork in this piece. You can pay people for stock art. You can find a lot of it on DriveThru for other gaming stock art. There are, that's right. I said I went over art earlier. Just remember that you own it. Okay. So now let's come back up here. It feels like the hardest part is like, what do I talk about this thing? So, I'm going to usually look back to the guide. Lately, I've been smarter about including things to make this interesting. Here, let's see if I can flip over.
And we're back. Okay, you'll see in the meantime, I actually put some description in. Sorry, I did not have that prep. Think about that advance, but when you get here, that's when you'll be reminded I should say something about this. Again, you'll get a chance to look at this later, so I won't go over it. But I did want to wait to upload some stuff here. I want to at least get some fun imagery into this. So I'm hitting that upload button, and I think it was, I want to get this, I want to get some of these great graphics that Connor put together. Um, Copied successfully, awesome. That might be a little big, or it might be just right. But let's take a look at how we're gonna edit graphics really fast. Oh, did it pop in a separate tab so you could actually see that? That's amazing for everything lately. Let's see, image description. Orc arm flexing with die. Always try to give your alt text. People appreciate that. Okay, where do we want this aligned within it? We're just going to put it in the bottom. I'm not going to mess with text, but you can kind of see over, I'm pointing with my finger, that doesn't help. You can see how it'll show where it'll be if you have text around it. What I want to do is probably constrain how big this is. I actually think it wasn't too big a ratio, but let's say 30 by 30. If I do that, it should come up. No special spacing here. And if we update that, yeah, I did shrink it down a little bit. So, okay. I'm just going to have a little bit of orc pride flag there. I don't think I'm going to add any other pictures, but sometimes a few different descriptions. In a run up to something, you might already have people who've previewed it and can provide some quotes. We don't yet, but maybe we'll come back and add that. We actually did run this just last night, and you'll be able to see that too. Okay, so now we've got all the information about our product. Again, I didn't put the PDF preview stuff. It's just not going to render until we've uploaded our files. And you're like, wait a second, where do I put my files? Well, just wait. We'll get that chance once they make sure that this is set to go. So I agree, set up my title. Okay, wait for the process to complete. And we get scrolly. Let's take a look at how this looks in a document. Oh no, my arm went all the way over there. Okay, cool. That's how our cover looks here. I mean, we maximized it. I think we've got, at least some good text about the key thing. I always struggle because, it's fun to put stuff because you're usually going to look at it bigger, but you need the cover to be a good size while just browsing. Our information is correct. We've got our authors, artists, our pages, upload. You'll notice that it's still private. Nothing's happened yet, which is great because then we get a chance to fix our beefy orc arm. Did the beefy arm go to the end? Okay. All right. You saw kind of where we could do it there, but we can actually go here to upload our files. This is not hard at all. Make sure you're grabbing your correct file. And then you're like, wow, 17 megabytes, that's actually kind of a lot. And then you're going to say, wow, I did not mean that to be a lot. And remember, a piece of advice that they've given is that we should shrink our PDFs. And this is actually one that has been reminded, that was recommended. So remember, we did some options about dot per inch sizes and not wanting to redo pictures. Well, in doing that, it did become a little bigger. But if we do that and then they've recommended to shrink, then let's take a look. Then hopefully this should render still pretty well. That is not the folder I want to drop that in. Okay. And I opened it in browser, so you should be able to still see that. Excellent. Okay. Cover graphics still look pretty good. I can still select text. Colors are looking good. This graphic's looking okay. Town looks good. Yeah, I think that shrinker does some sort of magic that we can't appreciate. And again, that was recommended in some of the docs, so I don't feel so bad about that. Okay. So that takes care of that. All right. Take 2 on the upload. We're going back over to here. And I'm going to grab my guide. That's looking better. Okay, 2.4. That's a bit better. Let's upload it. So we're going to name it V1 so we can keep track of it. But I want the customer to know it as just that name. As we upload other stuff, I want it so that they can always see one and not see every single rev. So that's me. I'm going to save that change. And this is a PDF. If we were doing other things, we'd select it. Man, I want to do some text recording of stuff someday. I think that would be a blast, but today is not that day. Different Roll20 for VTTs, people uploading images, so a whole bunch of things here. Oh, Boundary's up there too, cool. But this is a PDF, and we are going to make it public. Okay. And this is now reminding me I have way too many files. But let's go back, because we're not done yet. We have uploaded our files now, and I want to go back and fix the PDF entering. Gosh, what did I call it? New Orcs on the Block. Okay, now we have some PDFs to actually mess with. So, I like to try to do both. We got a PDF of previews. We'll see what a preview is in a moment. So let's think about what page tells us something. The cover, you can already see the cover. It's not so bad. Now, maybe you don't want the first page to be what it is. It gives away too much. But for something like this, I think it's perfectly fine. Especially since it's giving us a description of what this is. And this is even a freebie. So this should be pretty simple. Page 1, page 2. And let's preview the listing. And then this is when we're going to hit. The refresh takes longer than you'd like sometimes. Okay, we got the preview there. Oh, see? There you go. Easy peasy. The PDF might take a lot longer to render. This is why you got to get the name right, because they are going to see it here and say, why does it say Helen's Infinite template? And these have a nice watermark there, so you're taken care of. Okay, we've got our we've got our cover, we've got our title, we got all this stuff. It is even live. You can view it as a customer. But we're not done yet. I did this with a co-author. I would actually frankly say that Brian did the heavier lifting, but still, for simplicity and for demonstration purposes, let's go to managing royalties. Like I said, there can be multiple splits. You get 50% as an author in Infinite because 50% goes to both One Bookshelf and Paizo. But if you're shared on things, you can divide stuff further. So let's look. New Orcs on the Block. I want to split this. I know it's a freebie, but people are very nice. You'd be surprised. And oh, it's asking for an email. I don't want to show other people's emails. So I guess I will do this later. But trust me, it's right here. You do the percentage. It's set to go. I will show off all my information because I knew I was doing this demo. Okay, so then let's back it up. We're going to check. It does not refresh on the first page right away. Lots of great stuff here. Don't forget to check it out. But we can still find it in our library. So I want to find it because that link is live. So let's get that title. It works on the block. Okay. Oh, don't go slow on me now, browser. Don't go slow on me now. Okay. There we go. We're viewing it as a customer. Everything's here. And now that it's uploaded and it's live, we need to do the thing that authors hate most. No, not math, not taxes. That you do in, I guess it is February. Advertising. People need to know it's there. So let me just advise you a few places that are great to share your works. Love it or hate it, there is a Twitter button, so it's really easy to just drop in here. And what it also does for you is it appends your affiliate ID. By using the affiliate you have associated with your account, if someone buys off that and they use cash instead of, own money in the ecosystem, you get 8%. Not everybody follows those links, but it's a pretty cool thing that you can potentially get some more. And that's not just on your products. You can do that for anybody. Like I might share a friend's thing, and if I can't remember off the top of their head what their affiliate is, I'll put my own in. I get, like 4 cents later. It's pretty cool. And there's this other thing you can do, is you can say the source. And I'll go show you where to look at this later. But I can say, like, this is from Twitter, or I say social media now, because I'm using, like, Mastodon quite a bit, too. Or if somebody else hit this link and got something, I'll say Paper Ninja. This is from me. So this is, even if you're not going to tweet it, this gets you the link really fast. Some other places that you want to check out is Reddit. You do need to be flared as a creator, but 2 places to check out. Pathfinder 2E Creations. That's a maker community. You're expected to be sharing stuff. It's a lot of homebrew, but it's also Infinite products as well. And of course, we would be remiss if we did not mention the Pathfinder 2E subreddit, which is hosting the TPK event itself. And again, this is where the flaring is going to matter. You need to make sure you're already a contributor, you have at least 25 karma, and show that you are a person that is producing products. So there's going to be a little back and forth to get flared for that. But then you can go forth and post things. Coming back here, I don't have Discord loaded right now because I'm saving things. But hopefully you are participating in Discord. That's a great way to talk to the community. And the Infinite Discord and the Pathfinder 2E Discord both definitely have places for self-promotion, and several other ones will also have those. The community just might not be as active. So, we have uploaded. It's available. Time for sale. What do you think? Do you want to check this out? Thank you. I hope that this guide helped so that you can go from writing your product to being able to sell your product and share it with the greater community. If you have any questions, the best place to hit me up is in the Infinite Possibilities Discord. I go by Paper Ninja on Discord. You can find me on Twitter, Mastodon, Facebook, kind of, and on my website, currently oberonsforgepress.com, but I am rebranding to Paper Ninja Products, so hopefully I'll get that redirect coming up soon. Thank you so much, good luck, and I can't wait to see what you put together.